welcome to episode number 6 of this vlog, Virtual Run with Lexi. I am super excited for this guest that you get to watch or listen to today. So I'll give you some hints on him. He practiced in California for 10 years, then he's been practicing in North Carolina for 21 plus years, and he's been named top chiropractor in Charlotte by Charlotte Magazine. And now he is focused in several different Eastern medicine philosophies, working for a new practice that he's super jazzed about. Some of those philosophies or strategies include acupuncture, neuropuncture, and Qigong. I just looked up how to pronounce it, so hopefully I got that right. He also, which I think is super cool, is focusing on mindfulness meditation as part of his practice to help folks, especially who are struggling with depression and anxiety, which is definitely all relevant stuff for every human right now, I think. Anyway, so I'm super excited to share our conversation with you. So I hope you're as excited as me to listen to Dr. Scott Greenapple. So I hope you really enjoy, and we'll see you later. Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've never gotten to talk to you, but I've always got such a good vibe. So
good.
Yeah. All right, so I'm recording now, and then I give this disclaimer because I don't know what I'm doing here, but anything you want me to take out, if you feel like, oh no, I said something that's totally wrong, I can of course edit it out.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and so
we're not doing this live. You're recording this?
No, I'm recording. No, I'm too nervous, Nelly, to do stuff live. So, okay, so I'll just start out. So I like to introduce you real quick. So I'm super excited to have with me today. This is going to be, I think, episode 6 of this. I'm supposed to call this a vlog, not a podcast. I've been corrected by my husband. With Dr. Scott Greenapple. Super excited to have him here. And he's got so much knowledge about lots of different things. So anyway, welcome, Dr. Greenapple.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah.
I'll give it to everybody.
Yeah. I'm not sure who all is watching, but I'm sure you have a big reach, and Run for Your Life's got a pretty good reach. So I've been posting like a little preview on my Instagram, and then we're putting on the Run for Your Life social media.
Good, yeah, and I could share this on Facebook, and also through Thrive's Facebook and their website as well. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Okay, good. So I'm real type A, so I have my questions prepared. Dr. Greenapple's prepared, so we kind of have an idea of how this conversation will go. But so I've never been to your practice like previous when you were at Greenapple, and I just learned from a coworker that you moved to a new group at Thrive. So just in light of current circumstances with COVID-19, I know lots of people are taking a look at their lives while they have this slowdown, right? Like, what are my priorities? What is my diet? What is my exercise? How much emphasis do I put on work? So this seems like a very timely time to talk about this new practice that you're at. So just tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So, I've been in practice for 31 years now. So I've been around the block for a long time. Started in California, and I had 2 practices in California, actually 3. One in Southern California for 5 years, then Northern California for 5 years. And I went to a rehab center where I had medical doctors and physical therapists working for me. So I've always been into sports. My background is, 98% sports. And I did that for many, many, many years. Started in California. I started playing with electronic frequencies, microcurrents, using acupuncture meridians. Way back when, in the 80s. Nobody was kind of doing it. For performance enhancement and injury, so on and so forth. Moved to Charlotte in 96. It was a shock. It was a little bit behind the times compared to California. When I had all these kind of funky new ideas, people were raising their heads about, what are you doing? And, so I backtracked a little bit and couldn't get into all the esoteric stuff that I love to do. But what's really interesting is that I started getting more and more into Eastern medicine on my own. And then I had a very severe cancer diagnosis in 2002. A very rare form of pretty aggressive cancer. And so I went Western medicine and I went Eastern medicine. I did everything, surgeries, for the West, and then all this kind of weird stuff, because I'm from California, New York, so I did all these weird things. But so fast forwarding a little bit, because of the surgeries that I had to bring in associates to help me out, and the practice was booming here with all the sport. And I was really looking to have people help me in going down, and we went through multiple associates, and then found really two, great ones. And what's interesting, there's a really good athlete in town, and she's also a medical doctor, an OBGYN, Dr. Amy Fletcher, and she was my patient. I treat a lot of medical doctors. And so she was telling me years ago that she's kind of getting burned out in the medical field and looking at functional medicine. And so we started talking because I'm a big believer in functional and integrative medicine. And then about 2 years ago, she came up to me and she said, let's go out for lunch and talk about a few things. And they were going to open up, her and another partner, Dr. Palermo, they were going to open up this place called Thrive, which was a functional and integrative medicine. And they said, Scott, we really want you on board with us. We'll let you run the whole Eastern side of it, sell your practice to your associates, and come on board. We're about to just launch this unbelievable new thing in Charlotte. So it was a perfect segue. Because they're functional and integrative doctors, so they believe in what I do. They believe in what they do. So I'm Western trained and Eastern trained. So the transition was really beautiful. And so the practice has been around. It'll be, I think June will be the 3rd year.
Okay.
And I've been on board with them since day one. So I turned my practice over to my other associates, and still kept the name. Everybody knows it. It's Greenapple Sports and Medicine, and we still interact. We still send each other multiple patients. For the first year, I was still there and Thrive, and now I'm only at Thrive. So with Thrive is wonderful. It's called functional medicine. And functional medicine is when we really look deeper into what's going on with the patient. So in my opinion, there's two different philosophies of medicine. You have Western medicine, which is very, in my opinion, nothing wrong with it, right? Everybody has a place, but it's very myopic, meaning it kind of looks at it, we look at one body part. If you have an elbow injury or a joint, you go to an orthopedist. If you have an eye, you go to an ophthalmologist. If you have mental uncertainties, you go to a psychiatrist. So it's very reductionist. We reduce you to a body part. In Eastern medicine and functional medicine, we integrate the whole thing. So it's more holistic. We look at, your mental affect, we look at your breath, we look at your body, we do blood work. So at Thrive, we have a lab on site. We have cooking classes. We have Qigong studio, yoga studio. We have personal trainers. We have nutritionists, we have psychologists, and I run the whole Eastern side of it. So we have 3 medical doctors, adding more. And so it's a combination of everything. We look at you as a whole. So I don't know how much more you want to kind of talk about that.
That's a good overview, I guess, and we'll get into some more to the nitty gritty of what you do, I guess. I guess one question, maybe some people would ask, do you guys take insurance and stuff like that for those who?
So there's a difference. There are multiple practice models out there. One practice model that people are really into, it's kind of like where you pay a fee up front, like a $5,000 or $10,000 up front, and then you're guaranteed. And that's not what we are. So the practice is interesting. We do not take insurance, but I would say probably 80 to 90% of everything we do gets insurance will pay for it. So the practice is the patient pays for it, but then they get what's called a super bill that they can put into their insurance company, and then they get reimbursed for the blood work and all these things.
Gotcha.
Some of the differences, the doctors that I work with there, they were getting so burned out of seeing 25, 30 people a day because that's the new model of medicine. So now, everybody gets an hour to an hour and a half. We see
Dream.
Yeah, it is. It's really the dream practice. But that is a really common question about the insurance. Now, again, I don't do any of that. I just
Right. No, I just thought people might wonder.
Yeah, but the majority of it, and people do get turned off by that. Some of them, but in the long run, most of it is covered. B, and really the big thing is that when you spend the money up front, you tend not to get sick. And this whole COVID-19 is a perfect segue. Because if you listen to the doctors every day, Dr. Fauci and all they're doing is talking about medicines and things to eradicate, so to speak, but nobody's talking about the prevention. So the people that are getting really ill out of this, still 98% of the people that get COVID are not going to die. As much as the numbers are bad, don't get me wrong, it's a horrible virus. But it's more what's called comorbidities, people that are overweight, people that have asthma, people that have lung disease. people that aren't taking care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So what our whole thing is, we're trying to empower you to learn how to take better care of yourself. So I'm calling it, this is a great thing for the next revelation. So we're in what's called in my opinion, I'm renaming this whole thing as the wellness revolution.
Yeah.
We're about to start a revolution right now because people are understanding. It's a little bit scary. We've been trained as a public to, I have a headache right now, so I'm going to take an aspirin, right? We're a very reactionary society.
Right.
But we don't think about heart disease because we know that it's still 10 years off. I can still eat my burgers and drink and smoke because it's not right here, right? It's this kind of invisible. So we're reactionary. And now we need to be more proactive. And that's what Thrive is all about, how to be proactive. Right. Also for the athlete. And we can talk about, is that our next phase, what we're doing with athletes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I thought, so you had spent time in China, right, in 2018.
Correct.
Sounds like you learned a lot of things, and there's words I can't pronounce, so you can say them. I know acupuncture was one, Eastern philosophy, Buddhist philosophies, etc. So yeah, just tell us the story, I guess.
So, I've always kind of been, again, living in California for so many years, you've done lots of way out things in my life. But I'm really into spirituality and into a lot of these different philosophies, not from a religious standpoint, more from a secular. I just like the philosophies of life itself. But I've been studying Eastern medicine for a long time, acupuncture, Qigong, and these type of things. But in 2018, about 26 of us went to rural China for a month, studying Qigong and mindfulness meditations and acupuncture with these Buddhist and Taoist monks, going where no North Americans really go. So it was a group with us with a couple of translators and one person, kind of my mentor, or one of my mentors, I should say. And he's been to China. He takes a group every 4 years. This was his 10th trip. So he's been doing this for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And so because of that, he's very in with government things. And so we had access to, like I said, we felt like rock stars here. Everybody were taking our pictures. They've never seen white people. So they were taking pictures. Not that everybody was white on the trip, but they've never seen Americans, I should say. So they were taking pictures of us left and right. But really, I got to do studying deep Qigong and mindfulness and acupuncture in Taoist temples and caves and with Buddhist monks, and phenomenal, really up in the mountains of the Huashan Mountains and Wudong Mountains. And this is where all Tai Chi, Qigong, Kung Fu really started, where the temples are built up into the mountains. And the history on and on and on. But unbelievable, really life-changing trip for me personally. Climbing these, we climbed the 5 peaks of the Huashan Mountains, where actually only 5 of us were able to do this. Very, very tough climbing. The oldest, but I'm, still fairly fit. So I was able to
neat.
Actually, yeah. So fabulous trip, and came back with all kinds of new nuances of treatment protocols, and really into Qigong and meditations and these types of things.
So that was right before you started with Thrive then, or right after you?
That was I was probably at Thrive maybe just a few months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I had another trip planned that I just canceled. I was about to go to Thailand for a month.
Oh, dang.
I had to study with some other, what I tend to do is I know you don't know me very well. I'm pretty anal about everything I do in life. And so I study a lot, and then I research a lot, but I search mentors, and then I find a mentor that I feel is good. And then I'll try to follow that mentor. Like in China, you go back, it's called barefoot medicine. You go through school, and then you go into a local village, and you study with somebody, you treat with somebody for years or whatever. So that's kind of,
we could do that here. I wish we could do that here. I went to nursing school in my I was late 30s, graduated when I was 40. I can't remember now. It wasn't that long ago, but anyway, it was weird to go to school for that as a second degree, because I feel like I saw all the things that I wish I could change, about just healthcare and everything.
Well, we all go through that, and instead of going back, you can change.
Right. I'm trying to change by getting people in good running shoes, I guess.
Well, that's a great thing. Again, it's our motto.
Right. Lower their blood pressure without pills. Let's just
correct.
Do that.
Awareness, self-care, and empower you to realize you have this healer within. Right? We all have this ability to make medicine for free, by the way. So again, it goes back to your concept of, does insurance pay for all this? And I tell people all the time, come in for 1 or 2 times, and even if insurance doesn't, which usually it does, is that your wellness revolution, you will be better. We'll teach you how to turn on this healer within.
Right. All right. So one of the words, I can't pronounce it. You have to say it for us, but it's QI space GONG. What is it?
So Qigong.
Okay.
So two things. So Qi, the word Qi, QI, in North America, most people associate that. Most people have heard of yin and yang, and they've heard of Qi. And Qi in North America has been translated as energy. When you go to China and you ask 20 different people in China what Qigong means, you get 20 different, what Qi means, you get 20 different answers.
Oh.
And really what Qi is kind of a life force. It can be air, it can be food, it can be energy. It's how our bodies adapt to the environment and what we use for energy. So we'll use a North American concept. We'll call it energy. And the word Gong, G-O-N-G, means to work. So really what Qigong is working with your energy. So it's part of an umbrella. Under this umbrella comes things like Tai Chi, Kung Fu, and really what I call Qigong is movement meditation. Also, I like to tell people it's acupuncture without needles. So all of my patients with acupuncture, I teach them Qigong because my role in life is to teach you how to stay away from people like me. If I can teach you how to turn on these different meridians and these different energy pathways in your body, just with meditation and movements, you can open up these things and release blockages and so on and so forth. So if you go to China and you ask people there, if you have an interpreter, because very few people speak English in China, I want to do yoga, you'll end up at a Qigong place. If you go to India, India is what's called Ayurvedic medicine. So in Eastern medicine, you have Ayurvedic from India, and then you have traditional Chinese medicine from China. Sure. So if you go to India and you ask for Qigong, you'll end up at a yoga studio. So in my opinion, in the next decade, you will be seeing Qigong studios opening up all through North America. Qigong is going to be the new yoga. The reason for that, and I'm not anti-yoga at all. I like yoga. Yoga, when you go to India, yoga is really used as a mind-body practice. In the West, it's turned into another sport.
Cardio. So, yeah.
Right. So it is when it's done properly, it's a mind-body practice, but it's become very competitive here, and studios opening up. Not good or bad. It's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. Yoga is good. Some of the differences is that, like my practice is filled with a lot of yoga instructors. And when I went to China, there were a lot of yoga instructors there turning to Qigong because they've gotten injured with yoga. Not that yoga is bad by any means. I'm a very big proponent of yoga, but a lot of times they do tend to overstretch and they do tend to hold their poses a little bit too long. So a lot of these instructors now that are getting older, people like myself, our hips are going, or so on and so forth. So Qigong tends to be more mindful. It tends to be a little bit gentler, a little bit more forgiving, and it doesn't hold the extreme poses for as long. It's constantly moving and flowing into all these beautiful, I know I'm kind of a short camera, but they're beautiful, beautiful poses. And again, these are things that I teach, and we're going to be doing Qigong at Thrive. I'll be teaching Qigong classes, and I just made a bunch of videos that I'm doing as well.
How cool.
So anyway, so that's Qigong in a nutshell. Movement meditation, aligning the three treasures, Jing, Qi, and Shen is called, but the three treasures of the body, breath, and mind. So we're aligning the body, breath, and mind through movement and meditation. And wonderful, wonderful, wonderful practice.
It makes me think of, I learned these in nursing school. I think it was in the behavioral health segment, the chakras. I don't remember everything about it, but it sounds
right. So chakras are a part of Ayurvedic Indian medicine.
Right.
There are 7 chakras. I just did a video on this. There are 7 chakras. And in Chinese medicine, there are 3 what are called dantians. The word dantian, the English translation is elixir field, which is just a beautiful word in itself. Elixir, right? It's just this magical potion.
Right.
3 elixir fields overshoot. There are 7 meridians. So the first dantian holds the first 2 chakras, and then the middle dantian holds the chakras 3, 4, and 5. And then the upper dantian holds chakras 6 and 7. I should send you this video because the chakras are all over endocrine releasing glands. So I could talk both ways.
Yes, I learned that.
Oh, it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
So neat.
How they knew this 3 millennium ago, 3,000 years ago, is just bizarre. But they're very, very meaningful. And like I said, they all release endocrine glands, which are, what release our hormones and so on and so forth. So the cool thing about my practice is I do the West and the East. So when I have a neurosurgeon come in, I don't get off on all these weird tangents that I love to talk about meridians and energy pathways. I talk about the science of how the electricity runs through the body through the channel of the radial nerve and ends up on the contralateral hypothalamus. You throw out these big words and these people are like, yes, we understand it. I could explain everything from the West or from the East because acupuncture and Eastern medicine is very scientific.
Mm-hmm. You're bilingual with medical terminology from different.
Great, yes, you could put on 2 different hats. I just changed hats.
So yeah, I guess that's good segue because this the next question was about acupuncture, like basic questions, right? What is it? How does it work? How does it differ from dry needling? I don't know. That's a dumb question.
Yes, there's a whole lecture we could do on that. We could spend 2 hours on doing that. So first, I'll give you a little scenario of acupuncture. Acupuncture it's very esoteric and convoluted, but I can kind of break it down to we'll call it acupuncture 101. You have what are called pathways in the body that they call meridians, and meridians are just channels. And there are 12 primary ones, and then what are called 8 associated. But the 12 primary ones are kind of what we'll talk about. And all these things, they're named after organs because they all feed an organ. But they house electricity and blood flow and lymph flow and detoxification pathways, and they follow arteries, and they follow what are called the fascia, which is highly electrical. So I use a lot of electrical currents with my acupuncture. I'm part of some research groups going on in San Diego right now, UC Irvine, UC San Diego. So I do something called neuropuncture, specific frequencies to the needles that release certain neuropeptides and neurochemicals. So there's about 28 people that are in this research group, and we're doing it on anxiety and depression, chronic pain, Parkinson's, and I think one other GI, that thing. So acupuncture is very, very scientific. The problem was that the West would not accept it because it didn't fit into their protocol until like the past decade. Now all of a sudden the West is saying, wow, these acupuncture points through functional MRIs, we could follow where the electricity runs. So now all of a sudden they say it works. And of course the Chinese have been saying, really for 4,000 years we've been saying that. But so it's very interesting. It seems a little bit weird until you can explain it from a scientific standpoint, and I absolutely can through neuropeptides and neurochemicals. As a matter of fact, there's this wonderful book, and it's I forgot the title of the book, but the subtitle is "How the Science of Acupuncture Explains the Mysteries of Western Medicine." Oh. It's fabulous because Western medicine, we've been around for about 220 years, and Eastern medicine has been around for about 3,500 to 4,000.
Right.
So they've been doing something right. The theory of we can really kind of get into this, and I won't get into it big time, and I'm sure I'll piss off a lot of people just on some of these comments I'm going to say, is the dry needling. Right? So I am certified in dry needling. I went through a whole program. In my opinion, it's the top program. It was developed by a guy named Dr. Ma. Dr. Ma is he is kind of the grandfather of dry needling. He is an acupuncturist. So dry needling, I'll make this very, very clear and brief. Dry needling is absolutely a part of acupuncture, no matter what any chiropractor or physical therapist tells you. It is a part of acupuncture. Acupuncture has been doing it for years. It's called ashi points, or orthopedic acupuncture, or motor point acupuncture. They've been doing it forever. I am not against PTs. I am not against chiropractors that are doing dry needling. But what I could tell you is it is a subset of acupuncture. What I am against is the amount of hours that they need to do it. For instance, in North Carolina, you need 56 hours as a physical therapist to practice dry needling. To me, it is woefully inadequate. Now, I am a chiropractor, right? And as a chiropractor in North Carolina, you need 200 hours to practice acupuncture. As a medical doctor, you need 300 hours. I find those both woefully short as well. There is, under the chiropractic board, you can take a board to get boarded in what's called acupuncture. North Carolina does not require that, which is ludicrous. So I took the boards just to see how I would do, because I also wanted to sit for the acupuncture boards, and they won't let me because I didn't go to a traditional acupuncture school. So what's crazy is, again, 56 hours to play with needles is ridiculous, in my opinion. Now, that's not to say I have lots of friends that are physical therapists that are very, very good with needles. I'm not the only one that have gone up and above and studied more. There's lots of great practitioners. So I always tell people, it's not the field, it's the practitioner within the field. So what dry needling is that you find what's called a trigger point in the body. A trigger point is a bundle in a muscle that gets irritated. And what you do is you put a needle into that bundle. And that happens to be effective. You could actually release some neurochemicals and you can release the muscle spasm. But in my opinion, it falls short because you don't understand that there's a whole channel involved there. So let's say I have, a neck injury. Well, I also know what's called the radial nerve runs through there. I also know that's called the large intestinal meridian. So I also know at the end of the large intestinal meridian, I could drain that whole process out. So instead of just putting a needle into the trigger point, I also know, wow, there are other points of the body that reduce inflammation. There are other points of the body that help neuropeptides and other neurochemicals. So in my opinion, if you go to somebody who understands the whole thing put together. So everybody doesn't like this from me because I happen to have studied a lot, and my goal is to have as many hours as an acupuncturist. And I probably have 2 or 3, probably 2,000, 2,500 hours at this point under my belt. I'm not the only one. I'm not trying to be egotistical. There are a lot of people out there that take this seriously as I do.
Yeah.
I would like to see passed across the country, again, also with dry needling, there are no boards to say, like for instance, in Colorado, I think it's 36 hours. In North Carolina, it's 54 hours or 56. There are about 8 states that won't allow chiropractors or physical therapists to use it at all. The American Medical Association came out last year really against physical therapists and chiropractors doing dry needling. There's also some political things involved, right? Because they want to own it as well. So there's some money things involved.
Oh, right.
There's always politics involved in life, as we're seeing with COVID right now. But again, my opinion, my goal is to make sure that every state, minimum 500 hours for a chiropractor, for a dentist, or for a medical doctor. We don't need the 3,000 hours or the 4,000, whatever it is, that the acupuncturists, because we already have all the physiology and the chemistry and the anatomy.
Right.
So we already had all that in school. But again, a weekend course to play with needles, I am really against that. So again, I'm not putting physical therapists down or chiropractors for great practice, and they get wonderful results with dry needling. I happen to think it falls short. So I always tell my patients, if you go to a chiropractor or a PT or anybody who does dry needling, that's fine. Ask them how many hours that they've had trained.
Right.
And if they say, yes, we did this, but then we also did this and this and this, go at it and get referrals. But anyway, I'm sure people will be bashing me left and right for saying these things, but that's okay. That's okay. I always like to pull this a higher standard, not just for me, but for all.
For sure. Let's see. So, oh yes, this was a question I kind of threw in last minute, I guess. It's the one about a lot of people, more folks with the quarantine, right? We're more active now, right? So newbie runners running more, walkers walking more, bikers riding their bikes more days, more miles, whatever it is. So considering we don't all have access to all the wonderful offerings like your practice or other practitioners, do you have any like just quick tips for them? Like I have answers in mind of like what happens when you do all that too much too quick.
It's interesting. I always tell people out of every crisis, comes an opportunity. So all the doctors and everything are going to be really, really busy after this whole thing.
Exactly. Chiropractors are going to be.
And that's the thing, we're stuck at home with our spouse. So everybody's now training for a marathon because they don't want to deal with their spouse anymore. They're so tired. And so yeah, so the biggest thing is, and I mean, these questions are really very, very good because people are overdoing it right now. They're overdoing it on a number of things. We're sitting in front of the computer too much, right? So all of a sudden our shoulders are slumped and we're doing all this kind of weird posturing. And then we say, shit, I've now got to go out and get my run in. So now I'm going to put in 10 miles and the farthest I've ever gone in my life is 2. Right. So yeah, so this is where I like to talk about mindfulness meditation, and where I really like to talk about setting up routines, right? And because you have to stick to a guideline. And so I'm a big routine person. Like I get up every day at the same time. I have a routine, and I have certain things that I do every day. And that's hard to follow. That's just kind of who I am. But But again, going back to your question is that you need to listen to your body. We talked about before we were actually filming on camera is that my definition of fitness is different than a lot of people's definition of fitness.
Right.
My definition of fitness is recovery.
Mm-hmm.
People, especially runners, it's interesting. We went to about 10 years ago, my wife and I went to a financial advisor, and he was looking at our portfolio and saying, you don't have any annuities in here. And my wife said, we don't need annuities. My husband treats runners. They are annuities because they get injured all the time. They fill his office constantly. And the reason is because runners would rather, and triathletes and cyclists, would rather put in junk exercise, we call them junk miles, into proper form. So I'm a big person, and you don't get strong by running or working out. You have to be strong to run and work out. So your off days are way more important than your on days. And this is why, going back to things like Qigong, Tai Chi, this is what you do in your off days. So you still have that mental thing, okay, I'm still doing something. But it's gentle movements, mindful movements, and then teaching mindfulness meditation during the exercise. So now be mindful when you're running, slow down. So like for me now, I run 2 days a week. Well, since COVID, I don't run with a watch at all. But when I'm not in this whole kind of insanity that we're in right now, I try to do 2 days a week of running without a watch. Just being mindful of my breath, and just being mindful of the beautiful environment that we happen to live in, and slow down. Slow days are slow, fast days are fast. So, again, I'm not trying to avoid the question, but we can't just take all of a sudden we have 30 days to stay inside, so I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And you can, but you've got to listen to your body, go slow, and stay away from the refrigerator. Right? That's the other. So we're going from the computer hunched over to running 10 miles to feeding our faces, right? So there's this whole, it's all about putting everything in perspective, right? And slowing down. And I love the word mindful. Because mindful just means being aware and being present as to what's going on now. It's not changing anything. It's just being aware.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm avoiding your question. I don't know if I
No,
answered it.
that's it. I just, I know it. Whenever I get beat up, it's usually because I did like too much, right? 2 weeks of runs that were longer than I've done in the last, 3 months, and now something's hurting. So I know.
Most runners, about 80% of runners will have at least one injury every year. And usually that's from, of course, they always want to blame it on you guys. Oh, it must be the new shoes, right? I'm sure you hear that. Right. It's always the shoes, right? It's always, instead of, you've been, running, 10 days a week at your heart rate at 85%, so there's all these, it's kind of interesting. It's what Dr. Fletcher and I, this year, we are putting together a program. We're calling it the Integrative Athlete. So Dr. Fletcher, one of the owners of Thrive, she's like a 6-time Ironman, 22 marathons, and she's the real deal. So we're putting together this whole thing of looking at the gut microbiome, of looking at hormonal issues, thyroid, of your eating. I'm looking at the biomechanics of the injury and putting together this whole profile of how to tie this all up to keep you, now to say you're going to run a marathon and be pain-free is a lie, because anybody who's run that far or done, triathlons, you have to feel a little bit of pain. It's actually part of the play, in my opinion. I kind of get off on that little bit of pain. I just don't want to not be able to walk for 2 weeks. There's a difference. It's comfort and injury.
Well, this is good segue then for like mindfulness, like the whatever you, provide or speak to with patients at your practice. Just talk a little bit about it. I know it's like the new buzzword the last couple of years.
Right. It was really funny. Mindfulness meditation, there's a guy, his name is John Kabat-Zinn, who's a medical doctor and a neuroscientist out of UMass, University of Massachusetts School of Medicine. So John Kabat-Zinn, 30 years ago, coined this phrase, mindfulness meditation. He went to India and he went to China and studied all this, and then came back and he really studied Buddhism, Taoism, came back and said, I'm going to take this secular and teach people for pain how to meditate. So mindfulness became 30 years ago, big in this country, 29 years ago. It's been in Chinese and Eastern philosophies for, again, 3,000 years. This is nothing new. It's become a big buzzword because 60 Minutes did a profile on it. Now Google uses it and Apple uses it. I've just been asked by, believe it or not, Wells Fargo. I'm teaching now these big time bankers how to meditate. And the reason is because meditation doesn't just mean shutting down the mind. And that's what people think. So when I ask people all the time, all my patients, so I have a standard questionnaire, and to be a patient in my practice, I'm kind of lucky enough that I don't have to take everybody that comes into me. So if you're not willing to do some sort of mind-body practice, I won't take you on as a patient because I want you how to stay away from me by empowering you to be healthy. So meditation doesn't mean I'm going to change the thought process. It's just becoming aware of what's going on and not identifying with it, but letting it pass. Your brain is malleable, meaning it can change. So when the pain comes, it will kind of come and it will go. So I'm not changing it. I'm just being aware. So I teach my patients how to do this, and really then teach them how to now do this as an athlete. So I can teach my golfers how to putt better, just to become more concentrated, right? So people like Michael Jordan, the late Kobe Bryant, these guys were big time meditators. And when you speak to them, and I've seen interviews with them, when they get the ball with 2 seconds left, they don't have time to, sit there and get to this 20-minute meditation. But because of the fact that they are meditators, they tap right into that feeling. The game slows down, and they become aware presently of what's going on. And they don't hear the outside, and they're able to just put up that shot, even though there's only 1 second left, and maybe it goes in, maybe it doesn't. That doesn't really matter. The fact is the outside stimuli got turned off. So that's really, everybody has you ask them, do you meditate? And they'll say, no, my mind's too active. I don't know how to meditate. And it's because it's not, the mind will always be active. That's where we're wired. We're wired for fear because we want to make sure, going back to cave people, that saber-toothed tiger wasn't going to eat us. So we're always looking for fear. Fear is a good thing. We don't want to walk across the street and get hit by a car, right? So we want to understand fear. We want to wear our mask when we go outside right now. We want to understand that this is a very real virus. But we don't want to identify with this, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Am I going to die? Am I going to get this? We just want to be present. So mindfulness is nothing more than being present right now, being aware of what's going on right now, and breathing techniques. Again, bringing that right back, and I can get into all the science of nitric oxide and what happens when we breathe properly, which releases more carbon dioxide into our bloodstream, which makes us breathe deeper and breathe slower, so we get more oxygen to the blood, and yada yada. I can get all into the wet science behind it, based on an Eastern philosophy that takes no more than, I meditate a lot. I meditate twice a day for prolonged periods of time. You don't need more than 5 to 10 minutes a day through these rituals and routines to really set your day right, and have a better response than a reaction. The whole key is to respond and not react. When we react, we lose because that's emotional. When we respond, we do so with intellect. We do so with, again, it's just a response coming through what's called a prefrontal cortex. So I have a better response to all of this.
And isn't it okay too sometimes to pause? I feel like I'm trying to do that more lately, right? Like whether it's a text or a phone call or an email I get that sets me off. I don't have to answer right now. Don't have to reply right now. Like take a deep breath. And that's not even thinking about meditating, but just.
Right. Well, pause is the big word behind all of meditation. So I'm glad you said pause. Pause is the word that I use every day, all day long to all my patients. If we just learn, could you imagine, are you married?
Yes.
Okay.
Right
So
now.
we know exactly. So we know all the intricacies of marriage, right? As wonderful as it is, it's tough as well.
Right.
So could you imagine if every time we got into a discussion or even an argument with our spouse or our child, if we just took 3 deep breaths and paused, we wouldn't say half the things we say, because what we say tends to be a reaction versus a response. Our response is an intellectual decision. When we do not pause, we react emotionally, and you lose every time. So pause is the key. And that's what meditation teaches you how to do. It teaches you how to pause. That's all it is. It's great. That's the buzzword.
Yeah. I do it too. I overcomplicate what is meditating. And I think I'm trying to celebrate little moments. Like if that's meditating, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
people, right, because they say, I can't meditate. I say, because you're over-efforting. It should be an effort thing. Like stop thinking about it, right? Just because your mind will wander. And when it does wander and goes to these other places, that's okay. It always will. Go back to the breath, right? Let it go and begin again. And don't judge yourself that your mind's wandering.
right.
That's the big thing. We don't pause enough. We react and we judge.
Yeah.
We judge ourselves. We judge other people, and that's all meditation. Stop judging. Slow down. Take a breath and let it
And
happen.
then this is a tangent, but like then all that reactionary heart rate elevation, the cortisol, the likelihood of injury, and all of it. It's all just
It's all
all of that.
yes. Well, it's all yes,
Yeah,
and it's all connected,
yeah,
and we can stifle that. So we can bring down our cortisol through what's called the vagal nerve and vagal tone, just through the breath, just through breathing properly. You could just calm everything down. How for free, by the way. This is
right.
like for free.
Walking is free. If you have an argument with your spouse, just get
Yes,
out of the house.
breathing is free, right?
Right.
It's
Cool. Let's see. Well, I guess we sort of talked about it. I was just one of my questions was tips for all of us who are kind of cooped up or like parents or suddenly home educators, routines disrupted, whatever. Do you
yeah.
have
So
like a concrete tip to give to any of these folks who are stressed?
I do. Yeah, I mean, you brought it up a lot. Pause. So all these things are easier said than done, right?
Sure.
It's hard to pause when you're, 5 kids are dragging at you. So the way that I try to tell my patients, if you don't feel like you have the time to meditate, meditation can be done at any time. So, for instance, when you're taking a shower, don't think about the math lesson I have to teach my kid. Don't think about going to work. When you're taking a shower, feel the warm water, feel it washing away on your body, watch the water circulate through the drain, be mindful, be aware of what's going on presently. And then when you get out of your shower, whether it's a 1 minute or a 6 minute or an 8 minute shower, you have just done 1, 6, or 8 minutes of meditation.
Hmm.
You have calmed the body down, it's becoming aware. So next time you're eating, taste your food, by the way, instead of it. It's really interesting. Watch people eat. They're putting in the next bite of food while they're still chewing that other bite.
Yeah.
Right? So chew your food, taste your food. I do this whole thing. It sounds very bizarre, right? I have people take a raisin or a grape, hold it in your hand, feel the texture of the raisin, smell the raisin, taste the raisin. You may hate the taste of it. That's okay. You may love the taste. That's okay. Witness what's going on. Be present. Slow down. It's all these little tricks and tips, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Next time you're drinking water, slow down. Feel the water lubricating. So again, this is meditation, being present and aware instead of thinking about what's going to happen next, because then you get anxiety, or thinking about the past, then you go to depression. Oh, if I only would have said that yesterday, my life would be so much better. Well, that record's been stamped and played. It's already happened. You're not changing.
No.
So that's again. So those are the tips. The tips are slow down right now. Taking a shower is a great way to do it. Right? It's your time, and don't text every 2 seconds.
Right.
When you see at a red light, for instance, watch people next time you're at a red light. Look to the left and the right of you, and the center. Everybody's on their phone. Always, right?
Yeah.
So my whole thing, I teach my patients, when you see the color red, stop sign, traffic light, take 3 deep breaths.
Oh, good one. I'm going to use that, but I'm not driving anywhere right now. But next time.
Yeah. So set your watch, set your timer on your computer. When it goes 50 minutes, stop for 3 minutes, breathe for 2 to 3 minutes. It's literally all it takes to change neurochemistry in your body.
Yeah. I have to think about that even like when I know I want to go run easy. Like I challenged myself a couple weeks ago. I want to run easy. I want Garmin, the blue and the green. I want to know that it wasn't like overexertion. And you have to think about it still, like while you're running.
Yes, I used to put on these heart rate monitors, and then scream at it the whole time. It's like, oh my gosh, I stay in that 142 range, but because I'm faster than that, so you think.
Right. Oh yeah, and I think even on my Strava, I said you have to take the ego out of it. Like I'm not going to be sad that I was slow. Like the win is that I, slept well and don't hurt anyway.
Yes, and look at springtime in Charlotte, North Carolina. Run outside and look at the trees.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Beautiful, right? It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Instead of looking at your watch and, oh my gosh, I'm 3 seconds slower than I should be on this mile.
Yeah.
Yep, the insanity of that.
I guess last is kind of a personal question was, like you have triathlon on your resume. Have you done an Ironman? I probably should have led.
No, so it's really interesting. I was actually training for an Ironman when I got diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
Surgeries that I had were pretty major surgeries. So it took me, and they told me I would never swim again or never run again. So of course that put another challenge in front of me. So I have done triathlon since then, since my surgeries. Not an Ironman distance. I stick to the international distance. Swim 1,500 meters, about a mile. Bike a 40K and run a 10K.
Okay, yeah.
It's about all I can do physically without my body blowing up. So I was trying to do, one a year. I've had a couple of, I'm 61. I've had a couple of injuries over the past couple of years. And I've also, so I train a lot. I actually enjoy training more than I do racing. I get nervous for some reason. I think it's because so many people know me that I get there and everybody thinks I'm really good, and I'm not good, right? I'm just another person out there. But I do like to train a lot. So, I could always kind of jump into a triathlon. I stay pretty fit.
Nice.
But yeah, but I really I like, and that's maybe more where I am at these days with meditations and my own personal things. These are for me. So I train alone. I don't run in groups. This is I really like everything alone when it comes to work. I'm with people all day long, and I like talking, and I like being on stage. I like that. But my exercise is for me.
Yeah.
So my goal was to do another one this year, and now I have a hernia that I'm about to have surgery on.
Dang.
So yeah, the aging process, and
Awesome.
it's all good. It's all good. Big picture's good. But so I think so I'm not going to be, and all the races are off this year anyway. So that's okay. I was going to do one. Yeah, I like to do cold water races because of what happened to me surgically wise. I need to wear a wetsuit because I can't swim very well anymore. So I like colder races. I like the October races.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So you like running solo. Got it. Yeah, I haven't really minded this. I'm on stage at my job too, talking to people all day long. So this has been, of course, I'm excited to go back to work whenever, but it's been nice.
No,
I haven't slowed down.
I've always run alone. Running in groups is hard because then it also gets competitive, right? And everybody's ride is a little bit different. And I'm a really competitive person in everything I do. Even though I'm not good, I still want to be competitive. So I run to be yada yada yada. All the same stuff that we all go through.
Yeah.
I'm
so
no different
run without a watch and take deep breaths. These are two key takeaways, right?
Take deep breaths. So there's a whole. I can really get into the science of this. So there's a lot of runners and athletes are taking a substance called nitric oxide. So nitric oxide, NO. So nitric oxide is a vasodilator, meaning the arteries open up more. But it's also a messenger. So it's a messenger substance that will teach the body how to take carbon dioxide, put it in the bloodstream more so you can actually get more oxygen. But you have all these passages in the paranasal membranes that release nitric oxide. So if you breathe more through your nose, you actually release more nitric oxide and you will actually get more oxygen to tissues. But if you watch most runners and athletes, we breathe mostly through our mouth because we're always sucking in air. So we have all these studies now that we're doing on athletes that teach them how to run a little bit slower, but take breaths in through the nose, and actually you'll increase your oxygen. So fabulous stuff. So
I think,
the breath is.
Helen Taylor, who you've met, she was saying that her coach during interval workouts would tell her during the recovery, the jog, take breaths in through your nose.
Yep.
I guess just to
it's also for a number of reasons. We have all this all this hair in our nose to filter out pollutants, right? But a lot of all the new studies on nitric oxide, it's really so. I'm actually doing it got canceled because of COVID. We were doing there's a professional football player, a good friend of mine that I treated when he was in the NFL for many years, and he really went through a hard time, got really into meditation and everything. So we are doing breath work meditation classes at Thrive. He and I. Just for breath work for the athlete and for it's going to be great, and that will pick up again once this whole thing it was scheduled for April 8th, right? So of course that all got put off,
and that's free. It's not a nitroglycerin patch, it's free. You just read into your notes. We're talking about all free medicine here.
No, I get it, and it was great bringing in a pro NFL guy because nobody wants to come here and meet, right? But you bring in some big well-known NFL guy, and now all of a sudden people want to. And he always says, Scott, they just want to see me, but they want to hear you. They just want to see me. I've got an innocence. It's a perfect marriage.
Right? That's so cool. Yeah, all right. Well, I don't want to take up more of your time, but it was so good to talk to you and meet you and all that good stuff.
Thank you. Same here.
Yeah. So I'll send you a link when I've got this all set up or whatever. But yeah.
As you can see, I like to talk. So this may be very long. I can go for hours and hours.
Yeah. We can, we'll do another one. I don't know how long I'll be able to do this, but anyway, cool.
Great.
All right.
Yes. Love to see this. And that's about it. And look for like I said, look for this new thing we're going to be doing for the athlete to thrive. We're going to be really opening up a whole new avenue of thrive for the runners. It's going to be fun. Next year is going to be really fun.
Awesome. All right, cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. It was real fun.
Thanks. Me too. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you later.
Hey, bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Greenapple. He was so much fun to talk to and had so many fun facts to learn. Anyway, yes, so I'd like to thank him for joining me, and let's see, YouTube for the free music, my computer for working through yet another podcast creation, and for you guys for watching/listening. And I totally forgot to do a cheers with him too, so much for consistency with the teasers. Anyway, instead of sparkling water, I opted for what I think he might approve of, which is herbal tea, so non-caffeinated. Yum. This is Mighty Leaf. It's citrus and chamomile, I think. Anyway, hopefully I won't fall asleep too early. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, I hope you found some helpful tips and have a great day. Bye.